Philu is on Jet.
Boo.
I'm not sure about that one because I really liked actually their ISO when they were playing ISO, and they actually had a lot of nice stuff like covering, like combining with the ISO shield and their pathing especially, because in this map the pathing is a big thing on both sides. I think you need to know where exactly player is holding, because there is a lot of different angles and heights in this map, you know, when you go entering the sides. And I think with the ISO wall, they were like using it very well to close some of the angles.
And also when we speak about those mistakes being here and there, I don't think that Philu could be included in many of them. Yes, he will be taking risks because at the end of the day, he is the duelist and we will be seeing him taking some of those. But as you're saying, Yampi, I think that giving him a little bit more of autonomy and being able to perform in his individual moments, I want to see how this shapes and Movistar KOI any differently.
Yeah, I need some energy, some hype, some support from you guys. Sergio, I know you're watching. Come on, Koi, Mitch and Tom, surely they can end this season on a high. Come on.
Vamos KOI. Well, a map win would be a season high for Movistar KOI, and they're looking to do it here. It's their own battleground, and they push Gentlemates to the distance with some jailhouse Valorant on the previous. Let's see how they get on here on Icebox. Tom, are your hopes high? A 13-11 on their opponent's map pick. You gotta believe.
Well, the thing is, if to end on a high, it can't end here. So there you go. So we have to be going to a third map. Which
And your confidence level, please, percentage?
at least 85.
Now make that out of 5. You have to have
2.
Well, we're about to jump into Icebox and find out if Movistar KOI can break the losing streak. Good signs after the first map, and this is what they've been preparing for.
Nobody loses, or nobody beats KOI 10 maps in a row.
It's just mean to put it into that context, but maybe nobody has so far, Tom, but
exactly.
Gentlemates are looking to take that record. It's going to be a deep play out of Movistar KOI, and they did start off the previous map with shows of confidence, some signs, the pistol round, and even going into the second half, they were getting aggressive consistently. We liked what we saw. Gentlemates bringing the waylay in.
Oh, it's the
ultimate
ultimate
ruse.
ruse.
Refract as they get into B, tap the spike and rotate back. Space taken by Mini and Kadavra. Solkas got there at the start of the round, and he's here in the steps. Early rotations, but they've already lost the sight.
He's not going to be able to capitalize off it. I thought maybe he could catch one off the back of the rotations, but with that double lurk of Kada and Mini, eventually we'll see the salvos go through, try and force them into awkward positions and just fully flooding back in towards the site. The battles, at least initially, are going the way of KOI. Another pistol will go under their belt. 3 for 3. That percentage is improving at least.
It's going up slowly but surely indeed, and a big round from Solkas. Tempered aggression in mid, finding the information, and not even going for that full flank. Instead, wrapping back to the team and moving together. That's what we want to see, because the criticism of the previous map, in a lot of the rounds they lost, even with advantages, it was that they were going in on their own. People were making the hero play, thought it's my time to step up, and well, it was Gentlemates who were the ones with the hero plays, with the ace on Kamek, the 4K, and nearly ace on Click.
See, that was so clean from Solkas. It almost looked like, you know when like a new game is released and they're like, look at this gameplay, and it's just clearly recorded and they're moving the guys out into the open. That's what that looked like. It just looked really easy for Solkas.
It did.
Casual.
Thinking mates just gave it to him. They're reading the script. Oh, nice shot right off rip. That was a sniper for Mini. A chance to do damage with the Marshall, but it's fought by a Marshall of their own. And a lot of snipers invested into. You see the Outlaw there. We've seen the Marshall as well. It's an interesting buy, and it's one that they will feel the damage as it's done. Kada ripping Solkas out of the round, and that's another weapon on the floor.
That was a classic versus Vandal. I don't know how he's managed to win that one.
The one problem with this rotation is that the spike is down, and both players are there. He's hoping to catch somebody going for the flank.
No, there's another problem.
And picking up a Marshall, but really they're just going to hold this light into... They're pushing. Okay, they're pushing him now. This is a risky maneuver, but it looks like it'll pay off. He's looking the wrong way. Yeah. Free as can be.
Do you know what the other problem is?
What's that?
He wasn't using the Gentlemates Classic, so he's getting fired immediately.
Oh, it's a skin. It was a separate skin. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not another team.
No.
No. Okay.
No, he's not a traitor. He's just not promoting the bundle. which is basically the same thing, honestly.
But the losses here, Tom, quite significant. In fact, did they even have an actual rifle?
Yeah, I think they
So
had, there you go, they had a Vandal, so that's not been retrieved.
No, because the players who pushed didn't recover it first, so they went pushing with Bulldogs, and then, as you can see, Solkas dives backside. They're both here. Ain't nobody making it back there, not even a Neon. So the cost here is massive. And even that pick for Kadavra will be felt coming into the, well, this round, certainly. 3 pistols for Movistar Koi. Make your bed and lie in it.
I like what was being talked about on the desk as well, about the duelist switch. I definitely like the idea of the ISO, but in practice, I think I just like the fact that Jet feels like it can take over the map more on this. Like, you have that sort of same advantage of, okay, you get the extra shield, you can take that extra space, but then you don't get that elevation that you're almost using it to fight against. Filu's aggression in this round has only been met with the lurk of Kada.
Toxins going up.
Very patient, passive round. I like this from mates. Like, you know you're up against a weaker purchase. You know the damage you did in the previous round. And while, at least for now, Flyer. Oh, okay. A cheeky double. 2 for the price of 1. May still need a little bit more, but has actually bought time for the rest of the players to get into the back of the site. Soulcast here alongside him.
30 seconds.
Kada still the furthest forward, but they need to get this extra space into the site. Mini's done well, and now Soulcast almost has to just fade away, not to give away an extra pick.
Still a fantastic early setup, even equalizing those numbers, but the aggression of Shados. And Tom, again, there's no one with them, but they're trying to run the clock down because Salvos can now stop that plant again. 7 seconds, plant needed, and there's a swing coming through, but it's too little, too late. Click's already put Spike on the floor, but numbers even. Wrap around is perfect! And they stepped into Mini's crosshair as if on cue. A round on the board for Gentlemates. Hard fought, though, and costly.
Yeah, it's sort of similar to what we talked about in the last round, where your opponents had a lot less. And even a little bit of luck that goes a long way, but I do agree. It's the same sort of moments where I understand Shados' attempt to try and basically just drop the spike in the open, but it ends up being their undoing. When I think they still had the salvos at that point, which would have done that job for free.
It was a narrow margin, though, for Movistar Koi. If they just take down that planter, if there's a wide swing from Grabinho there, could have thrown the round away, but it could have also won it, as we could see. The spike being relatively exposed. Deeper play from Click as the refract to just bail right back out of there, using that dash with the extra distance. There was no need to highlight that nano up top. Certainly won't be used here. There's no one around that position as expected. Hunter's Fury finding a little bit of damage and tags early on, but that's all that Movistar Koi have, and they've lost a lot of space.
Too suppressed.
I've liked this aggressive waylay take that mates do quite regularly. The extra distance you can get on the dash definitely helps out with that. Soulcast watching the cross, but initial shot not connected. Maybe a little bit nervous at this stage. Shados kind of having to hold on to more ground than he would have liked. His teammate so incredibly deep, but 2 players winning their battles at exactly the same time. Still plenty of time to play with, but getting out of here definitely not going to be easy. Needs to fight forward, and Shados wins both battles, leaving it all on to Mini. But with 30 seconds, low HP, and 4 more to find, that's going to be a round for Movistar Koi.
That's an excellent approach from Movistar Koi. As we said, they lost all of that space.
That's what we're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. They left all of that space and surrounded the players. Yeah, you have to acknowledge in that moment what you've lost, and with the push-ups that they have, these players are contained. They know that they've got an ultimate as well on Solkas to put the pressure on when the plant comes through.
Wow, we're getting a full repay
full
package.
Just about that nano. Wonderful. But you see it here, they've got players coming in from mid on both sides. You keep your control over yellow, so there's a crossfire there on the deeper push. The ult's put through to bring them into the open. And at no point, even if Gentlemates want to go back, want to take it in a different direction, they have to fight their way out. Grabinho with an immediate opening pick, and Flyer with another. Well, the early aggression working wonderfully across the map. That's an A and B pickup. And deep B main control, full control over middle with the Killjoy utility, and that leaves the guys on A with just one angle to worry about.
Yeah, I think the main goal for mates was sort of a set play, utilizing a Guardian that was purchased for Click. He was going to dash over the top and hopefully find a blinded player, but they were not blind. Come on. Unless we're going to see some more Sheriff magic, I think this should be a relatively easy cleanup. The team ace, Movistar Koi up to 4. They are starting to run away with this half a little bit now.
Yeah, 3-round gap, and the momentum picked up. It was a slow start on the first when they took 2 rounds, and then mates were able to immediately fight back and start streaking rounds together.
Oh no, he did get blinded, it was just a little bit late.
Even then, the fact that he lands that shot is impressive. But again, this is much better Valorant than what we saw in Split, where I think they were constantly on the back foot. Even if they found opening picks, the game plan late just wasn't there. Whereas now, we're seeing a much more controlled defensive side. They're aware of the space they're giving up. They're backing off into fights where instead of taking a 1vx after opening pick, they've got an extra teammate to swing. And I think we've seen that in most of the duels so far. So a great sign, but a timeout from Gentlemates, as they're clearly not happy with how these rounds have gone. And they come into the next as well with some very high value ultimates. Waylay and Teho ult online. These can swing rounds in your favor if used correctly, especially in maps like this with so many narrow laneways. You can just find yourself trapped in once those ults are laid down.
Yeah,
so a lot for Koi to think about.
Especially if you combine them, like the convergence path Armageddon, that's your opponent slowed and, well, an airstrike coming towards them. There's not really too much you can do about it, but it's all about finding the right place and the right time. Now, Click's been fairly comfortable just to pretty much dive head first into a lot of these rounds, and with the early setup looking fairly similar. They are set up outside of A. I'd be surprised if we see him just dash over the top again, but you never know.
No, it's not the plan this time. And a more passive hold from Fly, I think, ready to catch him as he came up and over. Shock dart through, no damage on the back of it. Mates getting a lot of space. Again, Koi have been very good at conceding that space and fighting late with an advantage. It looks like they'll have no choice but to do the same. Fly is sticking around. He's gonna have to cross, but Click won't catch him. And they get the setup.
This is a terrifying post-spawn now, because they haven't had to use any of their ultimates. They could immediately throw one in. And in fact, the second's gonna go there as well. Viper's Pit. Oh, no, never mind. Viper's Pit not onto the spike. Taken down before it could reach. Convergence path still available. That will slow-mo anybody that taps that spike. Escaping for Soulcast not gonna be easy, but he's going to the corner. Not really anybody to actually capitalize off the back of the kills. The Viper screen has saved them, and these ults are just not going particularly well. The only thing is they are buying a hefty amount of time. That clock's starting to tick, but it's all left on to 1, and Mini will get nothing. That was, what, every single... Oh, no, because I think the Viper's Pit was used. It just hasn't faded.
Oh, wait, no, yeah, it would be. No, but Mini didn't use his.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so it's
just
4.
looked a little bit faded. You're correct.
Yeah, 4 ultimates put into play for 1 round, and you lose it.
Convincingly.
Very convincingly. Cat is stepping in as the ult is expanding. That's got to be frustrating, losing it like that.
No chance.
The stun that landed couldn't be followed up on. The flash
completely
might have hit, but you're in a narrow alleyway. Peeking in through that window, and then Teho's ult is used, but again, we were talking about the combination. The idea of using the Waylay alongside his, but I think at that point they'd already committed so much they didn't want to just use 2 off rip, putting 1 in to see if that would help.
Well,
they don't get picks,
it
they
came
panic,
down to
and it has to be used.
Buying time. Like, you use the convergence path, you go, okay, I'm going to now swing into that. And I actually want to give huge credit to Grabinho just for the usage of his wall. Like, just putting that back, I'm going, okay, yeah, we're slow, but you can't get to us. I'm off, speak of the devil. He's going to get the opening pick onto Click. Akada, very quick to find a trade. Now, they want to get over and pick up that gun, but it's a dangerous cross. I think they're going to wait for that Viper screen to be ready and raring to go.
And especially around like that where mates have economy, where they put ult economy into it and lose it. I can hear Sergio Ferra from here screaming, and then he's back in Spain in a soundproof room as well. With 4 rounds in between them and a chance to push this even further. Yes, a retrieved rifle will be found for Gentlemates, but this is, I think, one of the best starts that we've seen out of Movistar Koi on any map all season. And it's not just down to the scoreline, it's more so the promise. Everything's working out. They just dealt with a round of 4 ults with barely breaking a sweat. We see them peak together, and that's just another example of what was missing before, even at the end. Solkis and Shados taking all 4 of those final picks together, swinging to trade. And with 6-1 on the board, rifles will come into Gentlemate's hands, but an answer is needed very soon. They are tapering out of this map.
Yeah, I think we've seen this once or twice. I remember I think it was early Pearl versus BBL. Shados got off to a flying start, but eventually slowed down. The Soulcats 10-2 currently on the board. It really has been a stellar performance from him. We now get to wait and see if there is going to be a response. But I'll also say that Gentlemates are one of those squads who quite regularly have a very close map and they just get blitzed in the neck. So it's happened. Normally they're off the back of an overtime loss, but it seems like there's definitely some questions surrounding their map pool.
Initial fight for Click doesn't send him back safely. He's a little in the open with the refract and caught and punished. 11 HP on Kata after that duel, so a 2v4 and an ult online, sure. But the spike lost and they have to push into heavy traffic. Gonna be caught by the headlights. Scribinho's 3rd of the round and almost got a 4th out of that. Filu beats him to the punch, but that is 7-1. And Tom, in a round like that, you'd almost think it was an eco that they were up against, but this was a full investment and a deep push from Movistar Koi that punished heavily.
Oh yeah, they just got slaughtered. Like I think the second that player that's sort of holding the line goes down, there's just no way out for Click. Yeah. There's nowhere for him to go. And then the rest of the team are just trying to swing back in to almost help out, and they've lost their lives at the same time. A solid push from the side of Movistar Koi, and well, no surprises to see the mates pull out a pause. Bear in mind, they've had 2 victories on this map. Once versus Foot, a 7-4 attack, as in the second half, of course. And then the other, a victory versus Liquid, an 8-4 attack half. So it has been the attack where they put up the majority of their rounds. Well, I can tell you for free, they're not getting either of those scorelines.
Now, I don't think you see it there on your scoreboards, your timeout scoreboards, but I'll tell you, Solkis 10-2, Shados 6-1. The 2 of these guys having a phenomenal, having a phenomenal performance so far with 7-1 on the board. You really have to look to mates for an answer, and that's why they call this timeout. In case you're not keeping track, that's their 2nd timeout. They are out of resets at this point.
That's sort of the funny thing. I mentioned that last round, and then in this next round, which was incredibly clean, neither of them got a kill. They both just didn't have to do anything because it was Grubinho sort of like running it down and just finding the majority. So that's the thing. That's the good thing about this for Koi. Is like, sure, they've had heroes throughout the majority of the map so far, but everybody's now stepping up. Everybody's feeling confident. Which again, I think if you look back to any of their previous matches, I don't know if we've seen everyone online for this team ever.
No, there always seems to be a missing piece of the puzzle. Filu, that's wonderful.
Okay.
A recovery on a bad start to the play, a double that puts them back neck and neck in man advantage. Solkis, well, he's gonna have to get out of here or go pushing forward to destroy that lockdown, but that is a risky play. Conceding the space, a much wiser decision, and we've already seen Movistar Koi thrive in playing those post plans, playing the late game. Mates weren't able to hold on to this site with even numbers and
them into such awkward plants. Like, they have the nanos a little bit wider so that you can't plant out in the open, and then the tuck spot, they immediately put the salvos in. So it just wastes a ridiculous amount of time for this attack side. Kamek, though, Mini, they both fight aggressively. It's going to be left all onto Grubinho. A second round looking likely, and it will be converted. The second pause is the one that makes the difference as mates are back on the board.
And a lot of the time when they go for that play, they're low on time. So that repositioning based on the utility is sending them into an uncomfortable plant spot. This time, they just pump the brakes, just wait, and then take the fights together. A much better face. The Gentlemates push into the site. Filu did a great job in finding so much impact there. There was no need to throw him under the bus like that. They got there in the end. 7-2. The slow climb back from Gentlemates could start here if they have a 7-5 half.
Yeah.
Certainly the best of a bad situation. Movistar Koi going to do their best to stop that. A mid-split that they're off to. Already 2 players making their way through with that orb. A big fight for Solkis. He lands the first, not aware of the second, and his teammate isn't either. Shot in the back. The stun, good. Mini tries to get there first, but Kamek's rounding the corner and cleaning it up.
Sacrifices had to be made. Unfortunately, they haven't been made for much of a reason, it seems. Flash through, but Grabinho still landing the shot. Shados 1 away from having that lockdown, and timing here is going to be everything. Click is watching the angle, but it somehow doesn't manage to get a kill there. It looked like that dink was almost in the open, but it doesn't seem to matter. Lockdown available, but where to use it? Oh, irrelevant. As already Shados has hit the deck, and Kamik, well, that's back-to-back rounds where he has probably been the most impactful player in them.
Yeah, and you look back to the previous map that AC had as well, resetting everything for the squad. They were up against Pistols still, but they had a terrible start with 2 picks going the other direction. He bailed them out. And with a 13-11 rounds like that are gold dust. At 7-2, no different. They're now
Through the little bar of the railing. That's unfortunate. That's the difference between an easy pick and
you are him. Brother,
going
you
down.
Are him. Let's go, guys. Keep it up.
Starting to feel a little better on that mid side as they see that gap closing.
5 ults on the other side, though.
That could be the difference maker. Before, 4 ults didn't help out Gentlemates. We'll see. The lockdown, though, for retake could be huge. Put into play early is Kamik's ulti. This is going to get them A site with no threat coming out in the other direction in the form of those ultimates. They will have to play them for the post plant. But realistically, A site post plant, this is where mates have had those struggles. And now with those ultis in play, with a lockdown to push them back, this could be a difficult one. Zipman's got to respond.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if the lockdown will end up being countered. Immediate usage of the Hunter's Fury, and Kada is on a very, very late lurk. This time alone could be enough to close out the round. They're trying to get in their face. They're trying to get in front. As Kada has come from behind about 3. He's doing absolutely everything for the squad as Click looks to clean up the final pieces. A massive lurk from Kada. A bit of an oversight, but also who's expecting anyone that late in the round?
Well, it's just a fantastic read. Again, your opponents have so many ultimates. A lockdown especially. What are they going to do when they're forced back by Kamik? Of course, they're going to play for that late round lockdown. They're going to delay their retake that little bit longer, which gives you the time to make that flank. And he could not have timed it any better. Getting there just in the nick of time to pick up all the players coming in through spawn. And putting it 7-4 in the board. Like we said, 7-5, considering the position they were in, or even just starting the half out, that's not a bad position to be in. Movistar Koi, they're going to feel the walls closing in on them.
You mentioned their opponents used 4 ults. Well, in that round, Movistar Koi used 3. And again, it wasn't a particularly close round, so it seems like the optimization of those ults has not really been the talking point, but more how the opposing side have been able to adapt to them. First time for Movistar Koi was a Viper Wall. Second time was a Giga Lurk coming out. This time, though, Kamik Click combining once again. Kamik's been fantastic, but he will fall. A chance for a 5th round, which honestly, from where they were at, 7-1 down, that's not bad.
It's the fact they send salvos in to push those players into the open, but then lose the fights. And now late round, Viper's Pit's online, securing the spike. Snakebite was sent deep as well, buying them that little bit more time, but the wrap around the left is causing issues. Bladestorm looking to dive in and pick up that Viper, drop the pit, but Viper's further back. They'll have to get through Mini and Zipban first. The gap watched on the left, Zipban up close and ready for the duel. And it's Filu with it all to do. Running right into Kada, who previously was deep in the choke point, but he took a lot of space towards the site to close this out. Smiles on Gentlemate's side. This was 7-1, but they go into the second half just 2 away.
Yeah, a very solid recovery coming out of Gentlemates after a pretty rough scenario. We'll see if Koi can break the curse or if another 2-0 is up for grabs. We'll be back after the break.
Well, it's time to get back into this game. 7-5 at the half. We've seen it before. It was KOI that were trailing. They had a big early half in half number 2 of Split. They won all the pistols so far as well, Tom. And now, with the lead under their belt, it's all going to come down to the start of this map. The start of this half, rather. If they can take the pistol, that lead's going to extend, and they can run away with it, and their stats are going to look a whole lot better at the end of the season. We saw they were the lowest. Did it say globally the lowest pistol round conversion?
I don't know if it was or bottom 3 globally, the lowest here.
It was a tough statistic to swallow, that's for sure.
It's definitely been rough. But they are 3 for 3 in this series in terms of pistols, so that's at least been one of the major positives in this matchup. A chance with them already in the lead and heading into the attack side. And well, Kada's been wrecked by salvos alone. That is not a bad start. In fact, Kamik is desperately low as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of damage done in that initial engagement. 3 players spotted outside of B, one of them already dealt with Zipan on the push-up being taken down. And from Movistar KOI, look, 5v3, grouping up, taking the spike, it's not a bad idea at all. The information that Mates had is fading, leaving a big gap on that defensive side in terms of where these final players are, and that will result in a 5v1 or at worst a 5v2, depending on what site they go to. So I like the group up. I think anything short of that, and we would have questions. I mean, the real question, though, is, Mini, you're fragging IGL, no utility to work off of. Can he shut this push down? And he's done well to find the first and get out scot-free.
Oh, didn't get much further, though. A nice shot from Filu. Kamik, 1 shot to the pistol. Click needing to have a hero-like performance. Be a lot to ask for him, right? He's not going to get anything for it. Last man, incredibly low, and an easy cleanup for KOI. They're converting that pistol again and again. 4 for 4 in the series, and looking to try and build off that.
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten a lot of rounds in those early halves. It's been a saving grace for them a lot of the time, looking at Split as well. There being such a close scoreline. That's not ideal.
Did you teach him that? He used to be his
but before Tejo
coach,
came out, I taught him exactly how to make that play. I knew the abilities years ahead of time.
Exactly.
Absolutely. No, I think that...
I just thought maybe you still talk and you were like, I've got this great plan.
Yeah.
What you do is you aim up and then you just run around the corner without checking if there's any util.
Yeah.
At least that's how you play rank.
All right. Well, that's not true. That's,
Which bit?
I don't run around corners. I stay behind the wall.
Oh, okay.
You know this. You know this.
But you do throw the games.
1 or 2. I've been known to. Kind of snuck up to yellow, but they're going to expect this position. Indeed they do. Swinging in, taking it down. Mini's got a double with a classic on range. Zipan's got 1 more. This is already costly. Kamik won't last long in that situation, but 3 picks in a round like that, you'll take it.
Yeah, no, decent damage done for sure. Of course, we've witnessed this in the last map as well, but somehow Movistar KOI still managed to do a lot of damage and even in some cases convert going into the next. So they'll probably play this one like that's what they've been doing throughout the matchup so far. I'll also say again, like you look at the sort of solid points of this map. Solcast playing that more aggressive Teo seems to be working. Filu on the jet still looking incredibly comfortable, and Shados being up there. It's good signs for the squad on Icebox, and you have to bear in mind they have been 2-0'd in every single series so far in stage 1. A map victory for anybody else would just be, well, you know, another day in the office for them. It's everything. Kamik has a nasty flank, but shot's not connected. That's going to allow for a post plant, a rifle which I believe has been retrieved. A very good opportunity for them to make it to 10.
Be a huge stride for this squad, the post plant. Difficult to deal with for Gentlemates, having to push all the way back, and they're using utility to clear yellow. There's no one there. Fly a little ahead of the curve on that swing. He gets punished for it, but now a big trade out should come through. It's Filu with a double and a 3v2 in the back of it. Snakebite sent in. Zipan tanking it to get it to half, but they go wide into the angle to make sure that there's no shenanigans. Double digits found for Movistar KOI. Double the rounds of their opponents. And it was Gentlemates 7-1 down and a 4-round consecutive streak that got them back in. but losing that round there, that puts a real spanner in the works. It's going to have to be a flawless game from this point forward.
The best spot we've seen them in a while. Do you know who the last team they took a map off was?
No, not off the top of my head.
In the Kevin
Genoese.
Gates.
Oh my goodness.
They did lose the series, but that was the game where they were eliminated in the lower rounds. They took map number 2 and then lost. But we'll get to that when we get to map 3.
Saying history's going to repeat itself?
Who knows? We'll have to wait and see on that one. Let's wait and see if they get the map first, and then we can start talking about that storyline.
Yeah.
For now, KOI trying to break a 9-map losing streak. 4 series in a row, and this one starting off similarly to all the others. Close, but not quite enough. I said in terms of standings, in terms of even the championship points, there's some value. I think the main thing will be pride. You don't want to be breaking records that nobody else wants. For example, like losing the longest overtime in history. That one for Foot must have been a bit rough yesterday.
Especially against BBL.
Yeah, that context makes it
A
worse.
sprinkle on top. For mates, this isn't a round that we're going to put a lot of stock in. They've got pistols. A lot of weaknesses. And even if they had numbers on the site dealing with Movistar KOI in this form, they're moving together. They've got the weaponry advantage. The only player really isolated is Flya. A few times he likes to get... Oh, he's looked the wrong way. Got worried about the player coming from mid. But still, that pickup, it's not going to get them the round. But it does get Kata a rifle. Whether he decides to save this or try to make it even more costly, it's really a take your pick.
Yeah, I think the value of damage after your opponents win a bonus round with weapons missing really isn't there.
Yeah.
Getting the Viper's Pit at this stage, you're not particularly close. So I definitely think holding onto the gun has far more value for the squad. But that will be an 11th round. Movistar KOI just 2 away from getting their first map victory in their last series in stage 1. As I said, I think the story around this squad is that changes are coming. It would at least be nice not to have that record.
Well, it is just proof of concept, right? Like the idea that most teams, and we've seen it so many times, where teams stick together and they maybe don't look great at the start. Maybe they don't look great in the middle, but by the end, they get there. For Movistar KOI, if they can take a map, take a series towards the end of this stage, I can at least legitimize that the work that they've been putting in was for something. It was worth something. Now, ulti sent through. A very blind ultimate.
I guess it's a
Solkers,
ruse.
but
They're trying to push up on the other side of the map, but it's not really sold much of a ruse at all. I guess they had a read on
fake.
as somebody was playing.
Oh man, look, they're putting a nano through, a drone. They made the steps running up. So it looks like, oh, Movistar KOI are stupid. They put an ult on B and they ran, hey, they think we're gonna think it's B? No way. And now they go back. And in actual fact, it's worked out wonderfully. Mates have played into their hand, and although they're realizing their mistake now, with the Deho drone going through A main, it's too late. Plant's already secured. Post plant now for Movistar KOI. Hunter's Fury post plant as well. This is powerful. In fact, it's sent deep towards the spawn. An aggressive play, but they've given up on it halfway through. Divided, and they've been conquered. A 2v3 that they're left in. Grabinho in a nasty position, and Flya drawing the rise, telling them, come on in, push me down. And as the wall falls, Grabinho stands to take one, buying that little bit more time. The stun catching him just about, and Zipban's gonna get it to half. But he's gonna try to stick it all the way. It's a big mistake. Grabinho hot on his tail, and 12 rounds now for Movistar KOI. The map that was promised, long have they waited, but now just 1 away from their first map win in a long time.
They left it late, there's no doubt about it, but it seems like they've found some footing in this map. A map that, again, you look on paper, 2 defeats for KOI, 2 victories for their opponents. They've clearly put the work in, they found the gaps. And as I said, across the board, we are seeing what this team can do. Maybe when the pressure dissipates, when the goals have yet to be reached, but
It's always the way.
yeah, unfortunately for Koi, that is the case. Every single time you start to see the promise, but too little, too late. 3 players sit within this site. No ultimates online, but for the side of mates, they're pretty close.
Clearly expecting some overreactions from Gentlemates. You've got a player sat in the spawn on Movistar Koi, Grabinho, looking to catch that B main aggression if it comes through. That mid push that could be in play. That's why they made that initial aggression on A. Now, they'll commit to it that little bit more, but Filu, he doesn't find the welcoming party he was hoping for. They'll grab an orb, send it back in the other direction, but again, there's been no overreaction from Gentlemates.
The attack decided to pause. Mini will get one and well, almost a second. Soulcast desperately low, almost finding a trade. Grabinho's looking for a gap. Now he's heard the steps towards the spawn.
And they killed Mini.
Yeah, and because Mini's down, they actually don't have the information. Clicks deep position. Could hold value, and he's definitely wary of players coming in from behind, but look at the time. 12 seconds left as they look to try and hightail it in. If he gets rid of the player planting, it could all be over, but he gets executed by Soulcast, has to plant a little bit more risky. Kavik just with a blind spray through the screen. That will be a round onto the board. Mates, with a long way back to truly crush any dreams that were left for Movistar Koi, but it is only a blip.
Unbelievable. A little spam at the last second. Of course, there was no choice but to plant in the open at that point, having already been pressured from the backside. Great delay put into play. Good trades to start it out. Like you said, Tom, it's a long road back.
Let's go. Keep it up, guys.
From
6 more.
Gentlemates.
No!
6 more. 6 in a row. No room for error. No mistakes. And for Gentlemates, if they win this, not only revenge against Movistar Koi for taking that map off them a long time ago, but
They already got revenge. They won that series.
they want to do it
Oh,
flawlessly.
do they?
No, but it would be a devastating way to end the season for Movistar Koi, not only without taking a map, but being so
I don't want
desperately
that.
close at the finish line.
There's some things I find like, oh, that's a bit funny. Like this guy didn't get any kills, or like, oh, he went pie. That stuff. I don't mind. Someone whiffs on a turret. I don't want to see a team not win a map in the entire stage. It doesn't feel like something that I ever want to see for any team. Click. Setup ready. This choke is one of the deadliest for the convergence path, but he's still seen nothing. He has no idea. He has no idea how far they've gone. An oversight, especially as the solo B defender. Sure, the rotations will come in thick and fast, and with a lockdown and a null command, they have a lot for this post.
There must have been a call to have Click close by the A site. Lockdown goes into play. 30 seconds left.
30 seconds left.
They have one of their own.
Gonna put a counter one in, hopefully to free up that space, but the players can still keep a bit of control. Where's Kata going? He's walkabouts. Oh! They expected it somehow? Okay, 14 seconds and the plant's gonna come through. No way to deny that, it's nice and safe. And with that, the map is over. Movistar Koi, they've taken one. Vamos Koi, at long last, 13-6. They've done it dominantly as well. And for Gentlemates, it's going to be a map 3, a fracture needed to split the difference between these squads.
Vamos.
Look at the smiles on their faces. A long-awaited victory. We will wait for the 3rd map after the break.